All right, hello, metal maniacs. It's the Meista from Brews and Tunes. Cheers. I am absolutely thrilled, very excited today. I am chatting with the one and only Mr. Justin Kellerman, of course, of the mastermind behind the amazing progressive metal project, which I have completely fallen in love with, Empyrean Sanctum. Justin, thank you so much for joining me today. How you doing, sir?
Oh, doing great. Thank you so much for having me. And I see you're sporting the
Oh,
category five shirt. It's
yeah,
pretty cool.
indeed. You're a vocalist. Yeah, his other
Yeah.
band. Yeah, indeed. Yeah, I thought I'd. Yeah, I don't have an Empyrean Sanctum shirt yet, so I need to get one of those so I could wear that. But yeah. Well, first off, and maybe probably most importantly, I need to congratulate you on this incredible masterpiece of an album. Just came out a little over a month ago. Of course, I think, right? Or like April 18th or so. It was like mid-April, I believe. I think.
Right. April 18th. That's the date.
So Detachment from Reality, the second Empyrean Sanctum album, and what an album it is. I cannot stop listening to this. It is, and I don't say this lightly. I think this is progressive metal perfection. It's for like every track through and through. I mean, it's one of those albums you listen to and you flip it right back over. Well, it's not a vinyl, so I don't flip it back over, but I restart immediately. It's just incredible. I know that's not a question. I just wanted to tell you that I'm obsessed with this album. I think it's incredible. You've really outdone yourself. And I thought, the first album, which came out back in 2013, the self-titled album was an incredible album, but I think this is, I mean, you've gone above and beyond. I mean, you really knocked it out of the park with this album. It's a beautiful metal album. It's just wonderful. So I guess in asking a question, well, tell me a little bit about kind of the process. And I know it was a long road to get this album out. So maybe kind of just to walk us through kind of the story of the creation of this album, if you don't mind.
Okay. So believe it or not, some of the music for this album was actually written before I recorded the first album.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like the track Age of Innocence was the first song that was actually written for the album.
Interesting.
And I kind of wrote it as it was supposed to be like a kind of a pushback against what I was doing because I felt like everything were these like long progressive songs, and I was like I kind of challenged myself like, hey, can you write a short just banger, just like have a little prog in there, but can you just shorten it up a bit? And that was like my challenge to myself at that time because I was like so in this like state of like try to write crazy prog like long prog. So yeah, that was the song that kind of started it,
Hmm.
and then obviously as I went through writing more stuff, I embraced the prog, and kind of you know had longer songs and stuff like that. But yeah, that was actually the first song that was
Interesting.
written for it. So like yeah, some of the material dates back pretty far.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I mean, yeah, at least what, 12, 13, 14 years.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's cool. I mean, I'm glad it's finally, seeing the light of day because I mean, especially that, Age of Innocence, that's such a great track. And like you said, it's, maybe a little more riff driven than some, well, I think that's one of the things I really love about this album is, I mean, it is, obviously progressive metal, but then it's very riff driven. Like every song is very riff driven. There's just these amazing, um, wonderful, powerful riffs coupled with really intricate and interesting and mesmerizing passages as well. And that's, I think, one thing that I think sets it apart from a lot of other music of this style that's out right now, at least for me. And nothing against anybody's music, but I think it's kind of the it's kind of the meeting of, this perfect two perfect worlds colliding in a lot of ways, where it's, you've got this cool intricate progressive music, and then you've coupled that with kind of just driving pure heavy metal, a little thrash in there too, which I love that marriage of sound. I think it's perfect. um, and I think also with Albert Ribka, vocals of the band Category 5, I think that's a perfect marriage too. His vocals and your guitar tone is really fascinating to listen to. I mean, you guys really have, for lack of a better term, married the sound together really, really well. I mean, it's incredible what, I mean, you guys play off of each other so well, I think. And more so, I think, than the previous album. I think you built on that, which is really cool. And you've been working with him for quite a long time now, I guess, because he was on the first album, obviously. So, how did you guys meet? How did that all come together?
So it's actually a pretty interesting story. He's so when I met him, um, I was still in high school.
Wow.
I was a senior in high school, and we needed a vocalist. At the time, Empyrean Sanctum was kind of more like a power metal sort of thing,
Hmm.
and because my skills weren't as good at the time and all that, and I was still developing as a musician and as a player, and he was part of another like local power metal band, and they were handing out flyers at a Blind Guardian show,
Oh, nice.
and I grabbed the flyer and I kept it, and I looked up the band and I was like, oh man, this singer's really good, and I just kind of kept it in mind. And this was during the MySpace days, and um, I ended up basically like, how like during the like on your MySpace page you could have like your like top friends or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So what I did was on the band's MySpace page, all the top friends were all the members of the band. So then I went to his individual like profile, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna send this guy a message. He's older than me. I'm just like a freaking kid in high school. Like he's probably not gonna give me the time of day, but let me just see. And I like shot him a message. I was like, oh, I know you're busy with your band and da da da, but I have a power metal band, and would you be interested in hearing what we're doing and da da da. And I swear to you, like the next day, I get a message, and he's like, "Yeah, I'd be totally down to check you guys out. Where's your practice space? Blah blah blah." I was just like, "What?" And yeah, he took a chance, and he came out, and that day I think I was like running a fever or something like that.
Oh no.
Yeah, and like so I was like not even like myself that day. I was like just, but I was just so excited to like meet this guy. Like, oh my God, like this dude. And yeah, he came by and we were showing him the tunes, and he was just kind of like ad-libbing, just kind of hitting high notes and stuff. And to me, I thought that was like the coolest thing to just hear like high screams. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like, and uh, I think we had like talked on the phone like but before he came out. He was like name dropping bands, and I knew them, and he's like, oh okay, you know, like this kid knows his stuff, and I was
Nice.
like, and yeah, I don't know, we just kind of like hit it off, and then since then, it's just like I said, he gave a kid a chance, and you know fast forward to now, he's my best friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Nice.
it's
That's very
crazy.
cool. Yeah. I mean, he's the nicest guy in the world. He's so genuine. He's so down to earth. And yeah, he's kind of like one of those people, like you meet him and you're instantly friends. Like he's just, and his talent is incredible. What's one thing I love about him is he has such a unique voice. Um, I mean, he fits right in with the power metal and prog metal singers, and and he'll tell you his influences, but he stands out. There's a lot of people out there. I'm not trying to diss anybody, but there's a lot of people out there that emulate their favorites and they sound like them, and it's hard to differentiate. Whereas, it's similar with guitar players, I think sometimes too. And I think you're in the same boat where as soon as you hear Albert singing, like it's Albert. Like nobody else sounds like that. Like he has a very unique sound and a very unique voice and just incredible vocals. And I think, like I said before, I think they just fit so well with your guitar tone. It just, yeah, they're just, it's like two peas in a pod. Yeah, I can't stop listening to it. It's just perfect. From the opening of, uh, you know, uh, part of Gold, all the way through the album, it's like, man, this is what I want. Like, this is what I've been waiting for. A band like this, you know, to hear something like this is cool. Um, so let's talk about the rest of the musicians that you put together because you've got this is a heavy hitting album as far as I mean. One, there's you who's multi instrumental. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. Is you play guitar, you do the orchestration, you do the keyboards, you do the programming. Um, you've written all of this. I mean, this is your brainchild. This is you're the mastermind behind this project. And then you've got Albert, of course, on vocals, and then you've got um, Alex Weber, who's
Yeah.
yeah, amazing bass player. And I'm sure a lot of people know him from right now he's touring with Rivers of Nil, and he's played with
He's
Obscura.
he,
And
yeah, he's in revocation now. He's an
oh
official.
yeah,
I think he's on their new album and stuff. Like,
nice.
well, whenever it comes out, but yeah, he's a monster. Like,
Yeah,
he tracked the bass for the album in 1 week.
wow, wow.
Yeah.
And that's saying something because this is not. I mean, you have a lot of intricate, complex compositions on here. Like this isn't just a hard, it's not nothing again, it's not a simple hard rock album. This is very complex music. Um, and yeah, to track that in 1 week, that's incredible. That's amazing. And then of course you've got Hans Grossman on drums, another monster musician. I know he just recently was playing, and I think he's an actual member of um, Triptychon with Tom Warrior, which is like whoa, like that's amazing. So you've have and then you've also got some amazing guest musicians as well, guest vocalists, and yeah, you've got. I mean, this is like an amazing lineup of musicians that you put together. Was it? Um, I mean, did you know these people already, or was this a long process of putting this all together? Because um, I believe, if I remember correctly, I think Albert told me like you would basically kind of like the demos, you play every instrument. Like you would put all of this together before any of these people heard any of this or even were part of the project. So yeah, how did that all happen with, creating this an amazing amalgam of musicians that you put together?
Yeah, so like originally, like when I wrote most of the songs, most of the songs were written with me with my guitar. Um, I was probably living at my mom's house at the time.
Hmm.
Like I was in my early 20s and just practice amp guitar, putting the riffs together, structuring the songs, doing it a really like kind of old school sort of way. Um, and eventually it got moved to the computer and, turned in, was put in the DAW and, tracked and stuff properly and had all the layers and stuff and all that, everything added. But yeah, most of the songs were actually written with me just sitting with the guitar. The only ones that weren't written that way would have been Lifeless Death
Hmm.
and Elation. Those were the last two songs that were written for the album back, I want to say in like 20 2016 maybe, something like that,
Wow.
somewhere around there. Um, yeah, I was living in an apartment in Chicago, and I wrote those two songs like sitting at the computer. So those were kind of written more. So those I guess those are basically like Heart of Gold was the last completed one that was like them sitting with the guitar,
Hmm.
and then you had Lifeless Death, and Elation. So
Okay.
I guess those are closer representations of to like where I am now musically, even though those were like still written a long time ago, but like it was kind of like more of the direction I was moving towards. So they're the like more proggy tunes, I guess.
Okay.
But yeah, so everything was kind of like I would program the drums and kind of could put it all together and all that stuff. I would sing all the vocals and
Wow.
kind of map everything out, map out all the harmonies how I want Al to sing it, and like because I'm pretty particular about how I like things, and like my vision and whatnot. But the thing that's so cool is that Albert can actually do way more with his voice than like what people have heard.
Hmm.
And so like my thing is like I try to kind of bring more sides of his voice out that I know he's capable of, because it's like I know him on a personal level. Like I said, he's my best friend, so like I actually like know fully what he's capable of, and he's like super easy to work with, and it's just incredible working with him. But as far as the other guys go, um, so originally what happened was there were a couple other bass players that I had originally intended on having
Oh,
on the album, and things didn't pan out, and I guess too much time passed and stuff happened, because everything was getting delayed and there were setbacks and stuff. So it's like life goes on and things change. So it's by the time it actually got to the point of like time for bass, it was like, okay, the people I originally had are like, it's not gonna work. Um, but I love. I've been a huge fan of Alex's playing and like his bands and stuff. Like he's just such a killer bassist. So
yeah.
I reached out to him and was like, all right, let's let's see if we can lock this in. And I had met him a couple times, just at shows, and hung out with him and whatnot. Um, so yeah, it was that kind of thing, just kind of messaging on Facebook.
Okay.
As far as Hannes goes, so like there originally was a drummer in Empyrean Sanctum, uh, but he never actually played drums on any recordings of Empyrean Sanctum. Um, but he did contribute death metal vocals,
Oh yeah. All right.
which is kind of funny. But yeah, like we actually used to jam out the seven out of the nine songs, um, together, and he even like lived with me at one point. Um, but but yeah, so like things were kind of structured in a certain way, and then we kind of parted ways, and basically like we kind of came to the conclusion that it was like, okay, like our lives are different. Like we want different things, and I needed to get the album done and get things rolling and stuff, and so I was like, well, I'm already a huge fan of Hannes. Like since I was like a senior in high school when I heard Necrophagus
Mm.
for
Yeah.
the first time, and I was like, holy shit! Like,
Yeah.
oh, I don't know, can I swear on here?
Oh yeah. No problem.
Okay. I swear a lot, so I just want to make sure
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
um, but yeah, so you know, ever since I heard Hannes, I've been a fan, and then he Necrophagus split, and he joined Obscura, and I was blown away by that. And then when he did that Blotted Science EP,
Hmm,
like that was just like, oh my God, like because I'm a huge Ron Jarzombek fan, and
cool.
anything Ron Jarzombek does, I'm just like I like worship that stuff. And to hear Hannes with him is like it is so cool to me, and so like I have like a list of like maybe like 10 to 15 drummers that I really love, and when I'm like creating drum parts and stuff like that, a lot of times I'm thinking in my head like, oh, what would so and so like maybe
Oh,
this
nice.
part would kind of work for this guy or that guy, you know, and uh, so and he's one of the drummers on that list that's always really inspired me. And so, you know, it was kind of like, you know, we're already friends on social media and stuff like that. We don't know each other personally, but like, let me reach out to him and see if I can make it happen, you know. And he was cool about it, and he was up for it. And I sent him Heart of Gold,
Hmm,
the like the demo of it,
nice.
um, like as an instrumental, and just like, all right, let's see if he's like up for this. And he was like, yep, let's do it. And I'm like, okay, sweet. And yeah, you know, and what was really cool about it was he kept it pretty true to like the program stuff,
Hmm,
but there were but he added so much more character and like dynamics and little like inflections, or maybe like changed up the symbols a little bit, like oh, instead of just having a china like you know, maybe he like switched it to like a ride cymbal to let it like groove in a different way. And then like a lot of the parts that were kind of more like the I guess like when you think like Dream Theater, like 6 o'clock, like that kind of stuff, like the more like kind of proggy, like which I like using like grooves like that a lot. Like those were like the parts that I was really looking for him to like really bring his character out, because like he does that kind of stuff a lot in like certain parts of like Obscura and like the Blotted Science stuff. And he does it in Alcohol, he does it everywhere, but like but I just knew like, all right, he's gonna like kill it with this. And
yeah.
you know, and you know, there were certain parts where he kind of changed him up a little bit, or just kind of did his own thing. And again, that was like that was kind of what I was looking for, was like the whole thing that I told both Hannes and Alex was like I gave them pretty much free reign, but it was just like I want this to groove and I want it to bounce. Like I like the groove and the bounce is like really important for this material and for like the sound that I'm looking for.
Cool.
Um, but other than that, you know, I like kept it pretty loose. There were certain things where with Hannes, like where I was like, oh, I want the kick drums to kind of match the guitar rhythm more, you know, like the Meshuggah kind of thing. And I know that's like a little more of like the modern sort of sound. So I was a little bit strict on that aspect of things. But I did give like some leeway, and I even said like, you know, if like not every kick has to match. Like if you want to replace it with like a tom hit or like a snare, you know, or something else, like I just want those like hits accented. But if
Hmm,
you know, like you want to change something up or do something that feels more like natural, or you know, more to your character, like you know, it's not a big deal.
nice.
So yeah, it was a really just I don't know, it's just a really fun process. Like Like when I look back on it, like having this, you know, like, oh, here's these drums I recorded. Like, what do you think? And like, oh yeah, that's cool. And he would have little like surprises in there that would happen. Like there's this one part in a genuine empathy during the second pre-chorus where it's like the melody is like perfect symmetry, na, 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 and the drums, he goes into this like halftime thing where it's like, because normally it's like that sort of thing, but instead he comes in and he's like perfect symmetry, like that, almost like a march, but it creates so much more space, and you can hear the background tracks way more and stuff,
Yeah.
and that was his doing, and it was actually an accident when he was recording,
Oh,
and he
interesting.
liked it, so he kept it in there. And when I heard it, I noticed it right away, and I was like, I really like that. And he like messaged me back, and he was like, that was actually an accident, but I liked it, so I kept it. I'm like, it's a good accident, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Nice. That's one thing you just mentioned with that song, but I think it's important with kind of every track on here is I think you have a, not just Hansi, but I think you as well, and all the musicians on this have a really good understanding of space. That's what I really like because I mean, I think we're both prog fans, and I think we both know prog can get a little heady sometimes and a little overboard and a little too much.
Ego.
But I think you have a really good balance where, I mean, you do some really amazing guitar work, but then you also know when to back off and leave some space so that the listener can really concentrate and as much as I love, and I'm a massive Dream Theater fan, sometimes Petrucci, it's like, oh my God, like just stop for 1 second. Like, let me catch my breath. Let me hear what else is happening. Like, I can't, it's a little overwhelming sometimes. And nothing against John Petrucci. I love him. But
He's too good.
yeah, whereas I think you have a better, for my palate, my listening ear, I think you have a really good level of space with you do some incredible soloing and then yeah you'll kind of back off and let the other instruments and the other sounds kind of interplay there which and again I'm not a musician so I'm probably sound like a jackass um but I that's my hearing that's what I hear and I really love that about this album is some of just the space which I think is cool um another thing, which is totally off topic of what we were just talking about, but I think is really important for this album, and I'm hoping you'll talk about this a little bit, is the lyrical content because I think it's very personal. It's also abstract, which I like a lot of it, and it's in some ways I guess it's sort of a concept album, I guess you could say to some degree. It's about human emotion and kind of your own personal struggles and just life. But I find it really enriching and very honest, which is very refreshing. And yeah, would you talk a little bit about the lyrical content and what it kind of means to you? And you don't have to go too much into it because I know, you know, it's art and we should interpret art the way we need to interpret it. But I really am fascinated by your lyricism. It's very poetic, and I really enjoy it. I was kind of curious what you could tell me about it as far as what you're willing to share about it.
Yeah, of course. I'm an open book, man. So um, I thank you. I appreciate that. The yeah, the lyricism. Honestly, it's super personal. Super personal. It's a lot of vulnerability,
Mm.
uh, and most of those lyrics were all written within the span of like a few weeks,
Oh,
really. It was during a really difficult time in my life. Not really like difficult like life wasn't like bad, but I was just like emotionally and like mental like trying to figure out certain stuff. Like I yeah. So um, I guess I could just go like through track by track and kind of.
Sure, yeah. I mean, as much as you want to tell us about it, yeah. Because I find it, yeah, just very compelling. And I think that's what makes good art is that like what you said, vulnerability. Like when you're willing to put yourself out there. I mean, I think that's what art should be, in my opinion. Like good art is that kind of vulnerability and honesty, which I really like. So yeah, please, yeah, I would love to hear more about because I mean, I think I have my ideas of what some of the songs mean, but I mean that's I don't know as a 54-year-old man, like yeah,
Well, yeah, I do purposely make it slightly vague and open because I do want other people to connect with it and relate to it, you know? That is my intent, you know, because my thing is too, like when it comes to like lyricism, like there's a lot of bands that I love, but their lyrics is just like, what is this? You know, it's just like, and I get it, you know, certain genres like kind of call for it and stuff, but for me, like Pain of Salvation is my favorite band,
oh, great
and
man.
and that the lyricism in that with that band is just so emotionally deep and just thought provoking and just like hits you in the feels. And for me, when it comes to like prog bands, the prog bands that kind of have those more personal lyricism, like, you know, like again, Pain of Salvation, that's an example. Catatonia, Steven
Mhm.
Wilson, Evergrey,
Yeah.
like that more like kind of like emotional stuff where it's like really like it's just real, you know, it's just taking the mask off and you know, it's not stuff about like, you know, bury the bodies and butcher the babies and like swing the blade of steel and soar high through the sky with the dragon. Like I like that. I love. Obviously, I'm a metalhead, right? Like I love all that stuff. But like I don't connect with that on an emotional level. I connect with it because I play guitar and I like metal. But
Yeah.
I'm not like so like yeah. I wanted to kind of take that real route, and you know the music is how I express my emotions fully. And so I figure, you know, like, of course, the lyricism should do the same thing. I will say though, with the track "Heart of Gold," those lyrics were actually written by the original drummer Zach Libby.
Oh, okay.
Um, that was actually a paper that he wrote when he was in high school, and
Interesting.
he held on to it. Um, and when the album was first being written, um, he had kind of offered like he had said, "Hey, I have this piece that I wrote that um, I think it fits with what we're with, you know, like the vision." And I checked it out, and I was like, "Yeah, actually, you know, this is perfect. It kind of like it fits with this, like it sets the tone." And that's why I started the album off with that because it sort of like paints this like this picture and this landscape of like, you know, because the song is about like it's about the human condition of like greed and like, you know, being selfish and like what a person because it's called Heart of Gold, but it's like a play on words,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, so it's like the opposite. So it's about the like the negative aspects, and I think it's great because it sort of paints the picture to then enter into all of my lyrics, which are about like trying to navigate through this world and accept the world for what it is, but still like pull through. So then I guess moving on to the second track, Descent. Um, that's a it's pretty apparent what that one is about. You know, like it's just straight up depression, like falling into that sort of cycle. And like I said, the album is conceptual in the sense that like it does like pull you through these like this battle of like going through the ups and downs of these emotions, and like, and it is kind of representative of like what I was going through, and that kind of like, oh, I'm on the up, and I think I'm, no, it's bad, you know. So, but yeah, so this kind of starts it off where it's this depression thing, but the overall message behind it though, like, you know, you are not alone. So it's like, hey, you know, even though like you may be feeling this way, like a lot of people have these feelings at different points in their life, whether it's now or before, or they're gonna experience it or whatever.
Right.
And the idea is to like break the cycle, rediscover clarity, you know, like, and that then moves us to track 3, which is transparency. And that kind of came out of me. I was working a sales job in the city of Chicago, like downtown, and I hated it. Wearing suit and tie is just felt fake, just
Right.
unfulfilled. I wanted to be doing music, and there were other things in my life that I was unhappy about. And the whole idea behind that song is that's kind of looking at it from more of like the monetary side of things, and like, you know, it's like, uh, you know, there's must be a better way to like live my life, you know, like to be more fulfilled. So that idea is like, he's kind of putting it out there to people that like, hey, like, you don't have to like follow the norm. Like you can carve your own path. Like, you know, there's a better way to live your life if you don't feel fulfilled. And I like to push that message out to people that like if I can do it, you can do it. There's, you know, like if other people are doing something, that means it's possible. Like, because in the time I grew up, you know, so many people were like, oh, you can't make it doing music. You can't, like, that's not, you know, you need a plan B and this and that and blah, 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 you know. And it's just everyone projecting their fears and their insecurities onto you. And it's like, well, I'm not you. And
Yeah.
obviously there's other people that are doing it. So how are you going to tell me something's not possible
Yeah.
when there's other people doing the thing? It's just because you are afraid. And you know, that fear could be coming out of a place of compassion and care, you know.
Right.
Just because they're afraid for you doesn't mean they don't care for you, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not to like take it personally, but it's just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna figure this out. But there's a little bit of like a slight political edge kind of thrown in there. Just you know, like kind of looking at like the like corporate kind of thing and government and all that. So it's like just a tinge in there, but I don't like going down that road because that can be really divisive. So it's just, you know, yeah, you know. So it's like, but yeah. So this song is just kind of to try to like empower people, you know, to
Cool.
like, and then we move on to Detachment from Reality, which is the title track of the album, and that's what the cover is sort of supposed to represent.
Mm.
And this is you know, at that time I was just so, it's a little self-absorbed in a sense that like, you know, when you're feeling down in the dumps and that, and you're in that dark place, you are kind of, in a way, you are sort of just thinking about yourself. You
Yeah.
know, not that that's like people feel that pain and stuff, but like, you know, it's being so caught up in your how you're feeling and your sadness that you've kind of like, you're almost like putting yourself deeper into there,
Right.
like
Yeah.
struggling to try to like climb out, but you're falling deeper. And this detachment from reality is, you know, it's like, I'm here yet I am not. I exist although I don't believe it. So, you know, um, it's just like, you're here, and but like people, they just like you. There may be people around you that care for you. You may have things that are going well for you, but your view, your look on things is just like this negative, like, and you're allowing. There's an aspect of like my anxiety used to be really bad,
Mm.
and so it's just like being overwhelmed by that, and just like, and that anxiety eventually turns into depression, and it just, it's just all these cycles that they keep stacking. And so that's kind of what that song sort of represents, is just this like this low point where you almost you're here, but you're not even like present, because you're so
Right.
caught up in this darkness, that's this cloud that's hovering over you, um, and then that moves into the track Age of Innocence, which is kind of teetering now. um, Age of Innocence, I those lyrics in particular, you know, it's it's sort of like a kind of wanting something more from the outside,
Mm.
in the sense that, like, so the chorus is, return to an age of innocence where all your troubles were meaningless. A mother's kiss on your wound would make the pain subdue. And you know the idea of this is that, as we get older, we have more life experience, we gain more wisdom, but we also become jaded. Things happen, we see things in a more negative way. We lose some of that curiosity and that wonder. We don't live in the moment as much.
Right.
We lose the gratitude that we had. We don't appreciate things the way we did. Um, and eventually, sometimes people get their lives in order and they do come back to that, and they are in that place. But there's a lot of people that are kind of stuck in that limbo, or they're trying to figure things out. And the idea behind that song is that, like, if we can kind of return to that childlike mindset where we were more like open to things, and kind of were more in that moment and sort of saw that spark and everything, because you
Yeah.
think about children, it's amazing how their view on, they're so curious about everything, and they get so excited about things, and they're always trying to, that the childlike mind is, there's a beauty to that, and it's an innocence, and that's why it's called Age of Innocence, right? So it hasn't been corrupted and jaded. It hasn't had these horrible experiences. Um, and so the idea is that, like, if we can revert our minds back to that as a whole, like everybody, that the world could function better. And
Right.
it's call it wishful thinking, but again, these were like emotions that I was like thinking. I was thinking about these things at the time, and it's like, but you can't control other people and how they are, but it's just like,
If only.
yeah, if only. But that's not how the world works, and we're all unique and whatnot. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the idea behind that song.
Nice.
And again, I tried to make it very like poetic, and and keep it vague to a point where it's like, it's not about me. It's just about it's just about a concept.
Yeah. You
Um,
mentioned, sorry to interrupt you. You had mentioned that that song had been written before the original album was released. Were the lyrics also written back then? No.
no,
So those are new.
I had the title Age
Oh,
of
okay.
Innocence. I knew it was going to be called Age of Innocence. I think I had part of the chorus written.
Okay.
I
So the
think I had like,
concept was there already.
concept was there, but I just didn't dive into it. And then when I had that burst of inspiration, it's weird. It's like when I was in that dark place, it was like the lyrics just poured out. And
Hmm.
so I was like, okay, Age of Innocence, right? I can finish that now. I can get all of these lyrics. and it's very like ugh. um, and then you have what follows that is a genuine empathy, and so it's kind of touching on a similar thing, but it's moving to a more like positive side of it, trying to kind of break out of this dark headspace. Because Age of Innocence, it's like half positive, half negative. You know, it's like recognizing the negative, but trying to be positive, but also like there's a little bit of like this sort of pessimism to it.
Hmm.
But a genuine empathy is kind of more like hippie-ish in the sense of like, yo, man, like let's we're all one, like we're all people, like let's love each other, let's come together, you know, let's be considerate of each other, you know, and that's really the idea behind a genuine empathy is like if we can all like kind of like align ourselves and just wishing that people could see things like that and you know be less confrontational with each other and just stop the wars and stop all like just like
Right.
let's just love each other, like I said, it's very kind of hippie-ish, but I tried to make it more like poetic and thought-provoking and a little more I guess academic or something. Um, and the song's a little more upbeat and stuff,
Yeah.
so it kind of fits. That was one of the early songs written for the album too.
Okay.
And the originally the it started off kind of negative where it was take this feeling, take it away.
Oh, interesting.
That was originally, and I just was just repeating that just to have like just to kind of construct a vocal. It was like take this feeling, take it away from me. So I was just not feeling good,
Right.
and eventually it turned into take me far, far away. Unlock the true potential. And it was like again like to like have this like collective
Hmm.
you know unity kind of thing.
Yeah. Cool.
Um, and then that moves us into Lifeless Death, which is probably the most personal, toughest song on the album. Um, that song is about the last time in my life that I ever experienced thoughts of suicide.
Oh, wow.
Since then, I've not had those thoughts like circulate through my mind.
Good. Good. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
It's a long time ago. Like I said, like 2016, I think, or something like that. But yeah, at that time, it was really weird because I remember driving to my apartment because I was going to start working on the song itself. Um, and I just remember kind of like breaking, like, I don't know, I just started like tearing up while I was driving to my apartment. And I'm just kind of like, what the fuck? Like,
Hmm.
what's going on? Why am I tearing up? This is weird. Like, I didn't even understand it. And I got into my apartment and got all settled in, fired up the computer, started putting the song together, and I kind of had it in my mind that I was like, I don't want to write like a verse, chorus, bridge, like I don't want to write a normal song. Like I kind of want to write this more like a composition in
Hmm.
the sense like more like a classical piece. Like I wanted it to have movements,
Cool.
and
Yeah.
that was I went in with that intent when I was going to write the song, and I started with that main theme that opens the song. It's orchestral, and then eventually the heavy guitars come in with the piano and stuff. And I got a few sections in, a couple different movements, and something just wasn't feeling right internally, and my mind was going to weird places. And again, I was already writing some of these lyrics for the other stuff, and I was already in a weird headspace, and and the thoughts just started coming through, and my body got like cold. It's really hard to explain. I'm sure other people have gone through this sort of thing, but I kind of just like fell off my, like I had to like crawl into my bed. It was the weirdest thing. I stopped the project, and I just felt like, I don't know, I just felt like dead inside, and like these thought terrible thoughts were going through my mind, and I'm just like, you know what, like let me just get into bed and sleep this off, like. And yeah, I slept for a long time and got up, went to work the next day, kind of thing, you know. And but then when I got to work, then I would bust out the phone, started writing the lyrics, and started just kind of coming together. And then came home and started, you know, building the song more, and kind of felt the flow. And but yeah, so that is what that song represents, because there's kind of this like, there's like a dialogue of like fighting that internal voice.
Yeah.
Because like I kind of look at it as like almost like this like a vampire, like a Dracula, or like a demon or something, like that's that voice in your head telling you, like, you know, to just end things. And you know, like that's where it's saying like, walk with me, take my hand, let me be your guide through the cold embrace of a lifeless death. It's like trying to encourage you, like, hey, you know, this is, you know, have the kiss of eternity, like this is it.
Your pain can
like
end.
your pain can end. And then as you get further into the song, then that voice starts, there's a fight back against the voice, which is yourself. And it's like wait, no, like hold on here, like this is not the answer, you know, like it's not, you do this, like you're not just ending you, like you're gonna hurt all the people around you that love you and care about you. Like this affects way more people. It's not about you. It's like it goes deeper, and you like, life is beautiful. You need to be grateful, and like, and so it's fighting that voice, and it's this battle, and that's why like the chord progressions start kind of changing from these sad kind of chord progressions to like this more like a little more like darker and angry, and then, you know, it ends with this like, no, I won't give in to you. And that's where all the screams come in, and like the guest vocals from Gabriel, or it's like that very kind of Devin Townsend, you're like, no,
Yeah.
you know, sort of thing.
That's very cool.
And then that ends, and then boom, that like heavy sort of like, I guess like Meshuggah-y Chaos Sphere era kind of riff comes in, and you know, and the song gets kind of like darker and heavier, because it's like, it's that battle with yourself, you know, fighting that voice in your head. So yeah, it's a super personal song, and I'm very, very proud of that piece of music. There's a lot that I learned when writing that. There's a lot of things that I explored with orchestration and just layering and all that. And but yeah, so you have that song, and then that pulls us to track 8, which is Refinement, which is about, it's about breaking out of that.
Yeah.
So refinement is just like kind of coming to that understanding of like, you know what, like life is good. There's a ton of potential. You just have to unlock it. It's within you. It's within yourself. Like, you know, take the fucking power back, and like, you know, make things happen. Like, get out there, like do it, like, you know, love yourself. And that's pretty much like what the embodiment of that song is, because it's kind of a shorter song and a little straight to the point. There's not even a guitar solo in that song. There's not one in Lifeless Death either.
Yeah.
but it's a very kind of heavy hitter, and the idea is that it's just like it's power, but like within yourself, you know, it's like loving yourself and seeing that potential and seeing that power within yourself and just going out there and getting it and breaking free of the BS cycle of this like self-pity and wallowing in your own shame and all that stuff and just and so that it's kind of like a to try to like lift other people up,
Yeah.
and that's kind of the intent is is like the same way like when people listen to like I don't know like some of the Pantera stuff where it's about like finding that power within, like it's the same kind of thing. It's like find that power within and like get it, like
Yeah.
and then finally to close out the album we come to Elation, which is a kind of a longer, more drawn out song. Funny thing about that song was when I originally started composing that song was the last song that was written for the album, and it's the last track, which is kind of funny. But originally when I first started working on it, I was kind of like, I want to write like an 80s style Genesis tune.
Oh, wow.
Like that was where, and that's like the beginning kind of starts off sort of like, like a sort of electronic-y and synthy and stuff.
Yeah, I didn't.
And,
Yeah,
and
that's
that was, yeah, and that was where it kind of started. And then that next part comes with the, like the crazy multi-finger tapping thing.
yeah,
And once that part came, it was just like, okay, I guess this isn't what this
yeah.
song's gonna
Departing
be.
from that.
Yeah. Um, but and yeah, it just took a whole new life of its own. But the idea behind that song, there's actually a slight. It's not what it appears to be on the surface. So although it's called elation and the lyricism is like, oh, a state of bliss, tranquility, like all these like positive sort of things, it's kind of more about it's like a fake happy.
Hmm.
So but it's like a fake it till you make it in the sense that like, okay, so you're not feeling good or whatever, but if you stay in that mindset of like, oh, everything, just again, if you stay in that negativity, if you stay in that hole, you're not going to come out of it.
Yeah.
So shift your mind, shift your perspective. Even if you're not feeling that way, like it's okay to not feel that way. Like your feelings are valid. Like, but change your outlook. And the more you do this sort of thing, it starts changing things in your mind. You start looking for different things. Because, if you think about it, like, if you're always in this negative frame of mind, the way you're going to see the world, the way you're going to see everything is just super negative because you're looking for it.
Yeah.
You're like asking the universe for that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
It's like when like when you get like when you get a new car or something, and all of a sudden you notice that car everywhere.
Mm.
You didn't notice it before, and now it's like you see
Right.
that car everywhere. But it's because like that's in your mind now. So
Yes.
it's the same thing with like your thought process. So if you have this negative outlook, you're basically searching for it. You're like seeking it out,
That's a good
like
point.
like a negative detector, right? So
Yeah.
if you shift your frame into this like this positive kind of mindset, even if you're like faking it, right? You're going to be more open to seeing the positive opportunities, seeing the positive things. Because a lot of times, like the thing is like the negatives and the positives they coexist and they're always there. but it's like what you choose, how you choose to perceive it, how you choose to look at it, right? It's not that one thing or the other wasn't there to begin with. It's more so that like you just weren't paying attention to that.
Yeah.
You were so focused on this, and this great thing could have been right here, but you missed it because you're so like, oh, I'm sad, whatever. Um, and this life-changing thing could have been sitting right there, but you missed it.
Yeah.
You have a series of that happening over and over again. You see people get in this cycle. You see people that like the type of people where everything seems to go wrong for them all the time, all the time, all the time, and it just keeps happening. And there comes a certain point where it's like,
Yeah.
this has been going on for a while,
Yeah.
and
The self-fulfilling prophecy. Is that what's happening here?
yeah, exactly. So the whole idea behind elation is like, hey, you know what? Fake it till you make it, in the sense that like shift your mindset, start viewing things from this way, and watch what happens. Watch the wait and see like what good things come to you and come your way, and see how things kind of reveal themselves and what you're opening your eyes to.
Mm,
So that's essentially the idea behind elation. And
very cool.
it's a long kind of proggy tune with all these different instrumental parts and stuff. So it's kind of me getting to like let loose and be free. And there's even like a little like like a little like Latin flavor stuff. So I got to like express myself in that way, and like with like the solo section and stuff. And so yeah, it's a fun song. It's adventurous, and then it kind of ends with this sense of wonder, and it's kind of open ended, and it's kind of like, oh well, what's next, you
Yeah.
know?
Cool. Very cool. Yeah. It must have been and this is probably an obvious statement, but it must have been really cathartic to be able to do this, and not easy, I'm sure. I mean, yeah, I mean, especially to put yourself out there like that, that's not easy. But yeah, like I said, it must have been, yeah, very cathartic. And I think it'd be, as a listener, I think it's cathartic too, especially now having that kind of background. That's really cool. That gives me a lot to think about the next time I listen to the album. Um,
Yeah,
that'll be an interesting listen. Um, very cool. Thank you so much for that. That was great. That was amazing.
of
Um,
course.
uh, if you don't mind, change direction a little bit. I was curious about kind of how this all started for you. What was the impetus for Justin to become a musician? Did you come from a musical family? Like, where did this all start for you?
um so I do have a cousin that plays guitar. I don't know him very well. I've met him a few times when I was younger, and I certainly thought that was cool.
Hmm.
Um, I played trumpet in elementary school and junior high. I didn't really like it. And, it's like when you're a kid, it's like, it's not cool to do that. Now I think
Yeah,
trumpet's super cool, right?
yeah,
But
yeah,
like, at the time, I didn't actually know how to read music. Like I couldn't, I still can't really sight read. Like I can read music, but like, and like I understand theory and all that and composition, and but when it comes to like sight reading something, forget it. No, no way. Like I'll explain to you all the theoretical concepts, and what mode does this, and what how you take this part of this chord, and but yeah, when it comes to sight reading, forget it. Um, but what I would do is I would, in the band setting, since there's so many, you know, players, I would sit there and I would just not play, and I would just listen to how the song goes as everyone's playing it,
Hmm.
and I would just remember it, like how it could, like, you know, whatever it is. And then I would start looking at the fingers of the people that I knew were the better players. I would watch their fingers to see what their fingers were doing. So when I hear like this note, I know like, okay, the finger needs to be like this. So now I just need to blow until the pitch matches to sound like the song. And I would just kind of memorize the finger, like practice it with them, like, you know, so okay. And I'd go home and then I would just do that finger combination, just do it and, you know, make sure it sounds like the song because I know how the song goes at that point because you hear it a zillion times over and over again.
Right.
And that was how I was actually playing. I was never actually sight reading. I was just
Interesting.
memorizing the songs and the finger combinations and just kind of matching my lips to kind of get the right tone or whatever to hit the right pitch. But again, I didn't like it. I was just doing it. Um, and then when I got into high school, I had a friend that lived across the street from me that played guitar, and I thought it was like the coolest thing. And I was already starting to get into like new metal and stuff, and like some other like gateway bands like Cradle of Filth and Children of Bodom and Arch Enemy and stuff like that, and like
Cool.
In Flames, Cannibal Corpse. Like those were kind of like gateway bands for me. And he would play guitar, and anytime I would go over, I would kind of like try to mess around on his guitar. And then Christmas Day, my doorbell rings, and he's standing there with his guitar and his amp. And I'm like, "What's up?" And he's like, "Oh, you could have this." And I'm like, "What?" And he's just like, "Yeah, my parents bought me a new amp. It's like a big 100-watt amp, and they got me a new guitar, so I don't need this anymore. So now you don't have to play my guitar anymore. You can just have it."
Wow.
I'm like, "Dude, are you serious?" And he's like, "Yeah, man. It's like mine's way better." So I'm like, okay. And then I was just hooked, you know, like, and I'm trying to learn like Mudvayne and like Slipknot, looking up these tabs that are totally wrong, not realizing that the guitar's tuned differently, and I'm just like, da, 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 you know, like trying to do it, and no idea what I'm doing. But that was kind of how it like started for me. And pretty early on, I was already like trying to kind of write my own ideas. They weren't like great, but I liked coming up with my own ideas, and I felt like it helped me understand the instrument more.
Yeah. Very
Um,
cool.
yeah, and I was definitely like an elitist metalhead,
Hmm.
kind of a hater, like true metal, like, um, but I just started taking to the guitar and taking, kind of just became my thing, and I was growing my hair out and just just embodying that whole thing and just looking up to these bands and putting them on these like pedestals, and just
Oh yeah.
really loving that stuff. And eventually, as I got like into my later high school years, I started appreciating prog stuff more. I kind of started off more with like the death and thrash and melodic death metal and stuff like that, and then moved to power metal, and then eventually to prog. Uh, I was aware of Dream Theater and Symphony X, and I had seen them at the Gigantor when I was the summer, like after I was a freshman in high school that summer. I,
Okay.
I, I saw the first Gigantor. It had like Nevermore, Fear Factory, Symphony X, Dream Theater. It was like just this killer lineup, and I got to see all these bands. It was like Nevermore was touring for this Godless Endeavor, Symphony
Oh
X had
wow.
the Odyssey out, Dream Theater had Octavarium. It's like these bands were like in their like prime at the time, and
Yeah.
like, and I just was like, oh, this is fucking cool. Like Symphony X really impacted me. Like I just did not think a band like that would grab me the way it did. And they're still one of my favorite bands to this day. But yeah, so I wanted to like take guitar and stuff more seriously. And you know, from that point, I was taking lessons at like a local guitar shop, and the teachers couldn't really show me the stuff that I wanted to learn, so I didn't really know what I was doing. And they would pass me from one teacher to the other. Maybe he can show you, maybe he could show you, and no one really could. And then eventually, the owner was like, "Dude, it's time the birds fly out of the nest." I'm like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah.
We can't show you anything, man. I'm just like, well, shit, how am I going to learn this stuff? I don't know.
Yeah.
And then eventually, through Albert, I I found a guitar instructor after like a year or so being out of high school, because I was going to college for music for a little bit and was kind of struggling with that too. And and I found he was like, well, I'm singing in this band with this guy, and he's like a crazy player. His name is Orest Dzieciak. He goes by Hawk. Um, just he had a band back in the day called Imperial Rage. It's kind of like a neoclassical sort of thing. Um, and he's got he's sitting on a lot of pretty crazy music that he's calling it augmented chaotic stratosphere.
Oh, wow.
He's yeah, but it's not nothing's been released or anything like that. But I don't know if he'll ever release it or not. But like he's just he can do like 8 finger tapping and all this crazy stuff. I remember when I started taking lessons with him, like I was like, yeah, I like Symphony X, Dream Theater, Adagio, Ingve, like all this prog and shred stuff. He's like, yeah. Like I know that stuff. And he like took a Michael Romeo tapped lick, but he added like extra fingers. It was like, ooh. He's like, yeah, I could do that. He's like, I'll show you. I'm like, holy shit. And
Yeah.
all the like crazy music theory concepts and my understanding of music theory didn't come from school. It came from him in the private lessons. And
Interesting.
that's really where like my big foundation kind of like he was like my like mentor, and we'd spent a lot of time talking about songwriting and composition, and critiquing bands, and this band has cool parts, but their song structures are not there. It's important to have good song structuring, understand composition on this level, and how to actually do authentic counterpoint, like Bach style counterpoint, um,
Wow.
and all this stuff, and like diving into 20th century theoretical concepts with like matrix and stuff like that, and tone rows, and
Hmm.
just really just out there concepts, kind of stuff that like Ron Jarzombek would be doing,
Okay.
um, and like modern serialism and stuff. So we really just went all over the place, and he changed my life.
Cool.
And he's still a great friend to this day. We catch up every now and then, just kind of talk. Yeah, but that was kind of where it started, and that was around the time when I started writing the first Empyrean Sanctum album. I think I was
Okay.
like 18, 19, and I was writing that album and putting it together.
Very
Uh,
cool. So it sounds like probably during that time period is when you decided, yeah, I want to do this professionally.
yeah, yeah, that was like I kind of like it's weird. Like I like fantasized about it. I would go to concerts all the time. I want to be up on that stage one day or whatever. Um, and that was kind of like my outlook back then. It was like I want to like take this and tour and this and that. And then obviously now that outlook has kind of changed, because I enjoy the composition process a lot more, and especially with how long I've been sitting on this album. I need to get more stuff out there. I was suppressing a lot.
Hmm.
You had brought up before in the past too that about like how this must have been very cathartic for me, this
Yeah.
release of this music. And you're right. I mean, to be sitting, to have to have had this music written for so long and to just be sitting on it and having all these setbacks and stuff, like I I kind of had a lot of insecurities with the first album and how it turned out production wise and stuff like that. And it just didn't feel like a proper representation of me and what I'm capable of. And I didn't want to just be seen as like a guitar player. I wanted to be seen more as like a composer and stuff like that. Uh, and you know, it's just like I don't know. There's just a lot of like insecurity and stuff, and just not getting this album out there. And I guess I had a lot of my identity kind of baked into it, and plus like the how personal the album is too. There's a lot of that, like those emotions kind of sitting in there.
Yeah.
And because of that, I was kind because of that feeling of like how it feels to release something when you've been sitting on it for a while, which I know tons of I've talked to tons of musicians and bands and stuff, and they're like, "Yeah, I've been sitting on this stuff. You know, this album came out, but this stuff was written back then or whatever." Like, I get it, um, but it was kind of eating away at me. You know, like I didn't like that feeling. So I was actually suppressing my own. Like I've definitely written some stuff for a new Empyrean Sanctum
Oh,
album. Like I have a lot of the makings for a lot of things, but I purposely didn't go full on because I didn't want to be sitting on another album that represented this many years ago. Like I want fresh.
yeah, that makes sense.
So so when the next Empyrean Sanctum comes out, it'll be a combination of stuff that I've been sitting on around the time, I don't know, if maybe like seven to like 4 years back, like of certain material that was written. So there's going to be some stuff that is older in that regard, but I left it kind of incomplete and open so I can have it be right now where I'm at.
Smart. Yeah, yeah. So there's some room to grow and play with it a little. Yeah, I think that's a really good approach, I think. Um,
Yeah, and like I tend to write better when I just kind of like start the song and just start plowing through,
hmm,
as opposed to kind of having it and then coming back and having it and coming back. Like I do that, but like I like to kind of just flow through it and stuff because it just comes out, I think, more natural. But but yeah, it's again I want something that's a little more representative of where I am now. But in regards to detachment from reality and the release, like I do finally feel like I have something out there that represents my full musical capacity, and now it's just kind of like we just grow from here, and just keep keep kind of pumping stuff out because I was creatively like suppressing my creativity.
hmm,
I didn't realize how much of a negative effect that was having on me, like emotionally, mentally, or whatever.
yeah,
Because it's like if this is my way of expression and like decompressing, and I'm purposely like not allowing it to happen,
yeah,
while also not releasing this album that I'm sitting on too. It's just like all this inner turmoil, you know,
yeah.
and
That makes sense.
I felt like sort of this like hypocrite where I'm like talking about like, meeting, other people in bands and stuff like that. And like, yeah, I got this album I'm working on. That, okay, where is it? When's it coming? Oh, it's like I have it. It's written. It's like, so why aren't you putting it out? Oh, So yeah, but yeah, now that we've passed that point, it's yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun now because, like I said, I've got years and years uh, of a gap in time that I need to make up for,
Cool.
you know, and I'm really looking forward to doing that and kind of like diving back into that like creative state and exploring. I know so much more now just about music and production and soundscapes and sound design and orchestration and all that stuff. Like I there was a bit of a learning curve when I was putting all that stuff like with the songs that I had. Because again, like a lot of them were just written sitting with a guitar, putting the riffs together. So to add all that other stuff and make it actually like cohesive with the song and not sound like it's just thrown slapped on there,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I would imagine that's a lot of thought, a lot of work, obviously, for sure. And it's cool. Yeah. It sounds like you've got a lot of momentum, forward momentum now, which is exciting. Um, for future songs, future projects, future albums. Um, with that said, do you have intention of, and maybe it won't be the exact same lineup, but do you have any intention of doing any of this live?
Uh, as cool as it would be, um, I paid for everything out of pocket.
Mm,
It's like the way I paid for this was guitar lessons. That's how I make, most of my money is teaching guitar. Um, and that's what paid for this album. So as far as like live shows go, considering the lineup, I mean, these guys, they're already in established touring bands and whatnot. I don't have the funds to make it happen,
right. Yeah.
to be honest. Like, and personally, um, like I said, because I was holding my creativity back, I I I want to put more stuff out there
Cool.
and make more music because of the fact that I was suppressing that. Um, and I do personally enjoy the composition process more than anything,
Cool.
more than playing guitar.
Really interesting.
I have more fun sitting at the computer, uh, writing music, writing guitar parts, composing, you know, cinematic parts and stuff like that, or electronic stuff. Like I get more enjoyment out of that.
Hmm.
Um, and so I'm kind of right now. I'm in the mindset of taking like a. You familiar with Arion?
Oh yeah, huge fan.
Huge inspiration to me, um, just as far as the approach, because
Yeah.
that's I mean that's basically for years that's what Aryan did.
Yeah. Yeah.
He Shadow Gallery did that too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Pumped out these amazing albums and didn't play live until they built this catalog, and then people were like, man, if this could happen, and then it happened. And it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
So and by that point, then there's a lot more backing, right? And it's easier to fund it. There's because I'm not on a label. Like I said, I fund everything.
Yeah. Yeah. You're self
And
produced.
yeah, so it's kind of like maybe for the next Empyrean Sanctum album, maybe I'll shop labels. Maybe there'll be some label interest. I don't really no, but so far it's like the independent route, and I'm happy with that, and I like that. Um, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, I don't, like I said, I'm not opposed to playing live. Like I could, like I can play through all the songs on the album. Yeah, they're fun. Like I said, I wrote them sitting with the guitar for
Yeah,
the most
yeah.
part, like just jamming, you know. So like I'm pretty used to playing them and stuff, but it's like I said, with the guys involved and stuff, like to make it happen, it's like I gotta pay them.
Mm, mm.
I gotta. So it's just like, and I have a mortgage that I have to make sure I'm paying every month, and so I'm thinking, let me build up a bigger fan base and a bigger catalog of music, and when there's more of like a demand for like live performance, then maybe I'll take the festival appearance route, or maybe I'll pull like a Aryan kind of thing where he brings everyone to him
Yeah, yeah,
in his
smart.
hometown. I went to that first Arion
Oh, you
show.
did? Oh, cool.
Yeah, that was awesome. Um, and that's the other thing I wanted to add too, is that I want to keep the same core lineup, but I do want to work with more musicians that I look up to and respect, and that inspire me. And so there are guests and stuff that I want to bring aboard. I want to have Albert doing like duets
Oh,
um,
cool.
with other singers that we both really like. And I'll be doing some more singing too, because my singing has improved a lot since the recording of Detachment from Reality. And since I already map everything out
Yeah.
vocally, like I'll like I said, I map it all out already. So it's like the vocals will already be there, and then it's just a matter of like, yeah, we'll keep that, or that's going away. But yeah, so I definitely want to have it turn into more of kind of like an Arion thing, where it's like these more huge kind of grandiose albums and just keep bringing in more cool musicians. And and the thing is too, like I kind of want to do combinations of musicians that like you wouldn't necessarily expect, because it's like
Hmm.
having like Hannes and Alex Weber, that they come from like the tech death territory, and then having these guys play on like a kind of more like prog metal with clean vocals sort of thing. It's kind of out of what, like, I guess their fan base
Right.
would
Yeah.
kind of be into. Not that obviously metalheads cross over and like other stuff, but you have a lot of people that are pretty particular and are like, oh, I don't even like death metal vocals. I don't like clean vocals. Like there's
Yeah.
a lot of that too. So, but I kind of, that's kind of the fun of it. I think is having these combinations that seem like it, like this is weird, but like, well, why didn't you get this person instead? It's like, well, because I wanted
Yeah.
something
Yeah.
unique,
Something more dynamic. Yeah, I agree. I think, as I think he's like Arion does a lot of that, where yeah, he marries different sounds together and he does it brilliantly. And yeah, I like that idea. I think that's cool. That's yeah, because I listen to everything, so I like different styles interweave together. I find that really fascinating. Yeah, that's a cool idea. That's great. Um, very cool. Oh, I love it. Yeah, that's good. Well, hopefully someday, in the not too distant future, we will see a live production of Empyrean Sanctum. That would be cool. But I'm very happy with what is happening now. Um, so, uh, Justin, thank you so much for doing this. This has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you today. It's been fascinating. For those of you watching, look in the description below. I've got links to check out Justin's project. Um, if you don't have it, go buy this right fucking now. It's amazing. Go to Bandcamp, order it, download it, uh, buy the physical copy, do both.
And
It's
if not, go stream it.
yeah, go stream it. Such a fascinating album. I've also got links to the Empyrean Sanctum YouTube page. A lot of cool stuff in there, cool videos, really cool playthroughs that you do with different songs. Really fun to watch. So yeah, check that out, everybody. Again, Justin, thank you so much for doing this. It's absolute pleasure chatting with you.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you, Victor, for having me be a part of this. Like I said, I love what you do.
Thank you.
So seriously, like this has been super cool experience. I
Awesome.
appreciate
Thank you, sir.
it.
Oops.